All right, people. So our first review of the day is going to be for the new Paul Thomas Anderson film, One Battle After Another. This is the seventh Paul Thomas Anderson film. Paul Thomas Anderson, big time director there. Directed a lot of many classic films there. People might know him from such things as Boogie Nights, There Will Be Blood, The Master, Magnolia, Punch Drunk Love, Licorice Pizza, Inherent Vice. If people want to still remember that movie. And yeah, some of his films have even been called some of the best movies of the 21st century, specifically There Will Be Blood with Daniel Day-Lewis there. And I love that movie as well. I haven't actually
Mm.
seen that in a while. But I do think that movie is a masterpiece there, and I do love Boogie Nights and Punch Drunk Love. But yeah, he's made many classic films there. And then some people are saying this is another one with One Battle After Another. People are saying that not only is this the best movie of the year, but it's one of the best movies of the 21st century. It's one of the best movies that he's ever done, and that's saying a lot, given like I just listed off his amazing filmography. What is happening in this film? Well, you got Leonardo DiCaprio there, who stars as a character named Bob. Bob, who was part of a very dangerous group there of revolutionaries, domestic terrorists there called the French 75. While he was in this group, he met a woman there who also participated in the group there, one of the leaders of the group, who's played by Tiana Taylor, who her name is, she has like a Perfida, Beverly Hills,
Yeah.
there was her name. And they end up having a child together. Then after kind of the group dissolved, they had a child together. Then many years later, a person who went after the group, who was a main person there trying to lock them all up, who's played by Sean Penn, who plays a Colonel Stephen J. Lockjaw there. That sounds like an Incredible Hulk villain,
It
like a
does.
Marvel villain there. After he kind of comes back after them, he has to rescue his daughter from this man, and you kind of see the many adventures of how he's able to kind of do that. Got to be kind of vague with this movie because it's all about where things lead to and how things kind of develop, and kind of some twists and turns in the movie there. So I don't want to give away too much on this. But yeah, this has been highly talked about there. A lot of people raving about this movie. Dusk, where do you fall on it? What do you think?
Uh, it's interesting. I can see elements of his earlier work with There Will Be Blood, although There Will Be Blood is far more grounded and more mean spirited, far more ruthless in its depictions of greed and avarice and ruthlessness. This movie can be interpreted in three different ways, and depending on how you interpret it, is both its strength and its greatest weakness. If I interpret this movie as on a literal basis, from the events that happen to the characters, the moments, and I accept nothing less, this is a progressive's wet dream. It is about revolution, about violence against the government. It's about those who take action against those they believe are being unjustly dealt with by using violence and destruction and protesting and revolution against all those in the world that is filled with issues and problems, and only they can really stop it. It's also a world full of people with weaknesses and their own issues and egos, and it's just a big old messy revolution, wet dream for somebody who is on a very extreme side of things. If I look at it as a metaphor, uh, I get much more of a farcical approach. Was he trying to point this, and if you just lay it out like that, then all these characters are a farcical representation of an idea, or a that kind of an what if scenario, and looks at it from that point of view as a kind of weak individual or weak father who wants to protect his daughter, who is being swept up in the realities that he brought in his relationship when he was a revolutionary, and going on a journey to try and find her, while at the same time also uh being a bit farcical in its descriptions of people who believe themselves to be these revolutionaries and being these like better people, while at the same time they're no better than the enemies that they're trying to disrupt. They're no better. They're just complete opposite ends who, at the drop of a hat, will betray their own beliefs and principles when the chips are down. If I look at it from the last perspective as a black comedy, then in that point of view, everything is juxtaposed from the farcical elements, but also having the timely additions of having more serious moments to kind of hold them together. However, regardless of how I interpret this movie, no one is gonna. This movie, I think, was just ill timed, especially when you consider the environment they're in at the moment. But if I just take the movie as is, I think it has a lot of great acting moments, a lot of good character work by Leo DiCaprio and other people. I think his daughter is fine. She does a good job for what she's written. Paul Thomas Anderson has some great cinematography, really good responsive back and forth. Benicio del Toro has this brief moment. I think he does a very good job. I think they all play to their characters' strengths, but I would not say that I enjoyed my time with this movie. But I can recognize its technique and I can recognize the effort put into it. But I can't, for the life of me, understand what the hell he was thinking by making this.
Mm. This is her first movie ever.
Mhm.
You have the actress
Infinity.
name Chase Infinity. That sounds like that's another comic book ass name, Chase
Yeah, it's a
Infinity.
Fortnite name.
Yeah, that's a yeah comic book name for your ass right there. And apparently, she got the name from it says Batman Forever, the character of Chase Meridian. There, and then also the Buzz Lightyear quote there for their Infinity and
Sure.
Beyond. So that's where some of the origins of that name there. This is her first movie. Very daunting task there
Oh,
to be in
sure.
first movie, especially a Paul Thomas Anderson film. But we've seen a lot of first time actors step up and when it's their movie. Most notably this year, that movie Bring Her Back. That little girl from that movie, she was amazing in that. But Chase Affinity, I mean, yeah, she's going up against, especially in this movie, she has to act across titans. And as far
Yeah.
as the acting field goes, Leonardo DiCaprio, Sean Penn, at some points Benicio del Toro, and I think she holds her own pretty well. And I think she does a really great job. And this is a movie, as you mentioned before, with all the politics involved. And yes, this movie is political. Sorry to tell people. Yes, it's a very political film there.
Very much
Uh,
so.
and there's going to be tons of probably op-eds and political, articles written and think pieces about the meaning of this movie and all the different things that I was trying to
Mhm.
say, and everything like that, which is probably going to be really super fun to read. All those people there and all their
It's gonna
opinions
be
on.
a Rorschach test. This is very much a Rorschach test movie.
Yeah, about like yeah, what people kind of get from it. And we also had another movie sort of like this. I was kind of
Kinda
thinking,
Civil War-esque as well.
yeah, Civil War esque, and kind of a movie that came out earlier this year that I'm surprised I haven't seen many people draw maybe comparisons to it or compare it to. Do you know what movie I'm talking about?
No, why don't you remind me?
I am talking about the movie, not this movie because we're talking about this movie. Eddington. This
Oh,
movie right
yeah.
here, which was Ari Aster's film there. Which this was more because it seems like across the board, people
Mhm.
generally, even audiences, are loving One Battle After Another. It's not just like, hey, just critics love it and critics are up their own ass about it. Like it seems like audiences also really love it as well. But Eddington's more split down the middle. And you mentioned the aspects of like, being a movie about the political climate in the world, being kind of a satire, being kind of that element. Like Eddington is a lot of that in here. And
Yeah.
also it switches gears to being a action film there at some points and some moments there, and tries to also comment on both sides of the aisle. You weren't on the review from when we did Eddington, I don't believe.
No, I was not.
Yeah, so you weren't on that review there. But did you see the movie?
No, I never did.
Oh, okay. Interesting there. So I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on Eddington and see how you compare it to
Mm,
One Battle After Another. But one thing about One Battle After Another, even though it has all this politics in it and it has all those things, it is just a very exhilarating, thrilling, entertaining film. And this is you mentioned the length of this film before we started review with this
yeah,
review, that it's 2 hours and 42 minutes. So
it's
it
almost
is
3 hours.
It's almost 3 hours. And there are some movies that we talked about this before when conversations are long movies, like 3 hour movies or movies that are even an hour and 30 minutes,
You
is
have to
that
justify your runtime.
you got to justify your runtime. And is it entertaining? Are you excited to watch it? Are you loving what you're seeing? And if you're loving what you're seeing, that's fine. You can spend I can spend a 3 hour in a movie if I'm
Mhm.
liking what I'm seeing, if I'm entertained by what I'm seeing. And I didn't know where this movie was going to go. And I was on the edge of my seat and kind of like, okay, what things are kind of going to happen next? And the basis of this story, even with all the other things, is that you have this relationship between this father and his daughter. You have these amazing performances. Sean Penn is probably going to be nominated for best supporting actor. I would
Mhm.
imagine for his role here, what he does, just in the way like he changes himself physically, like his look, the way he kind
Oh,
of
he's
has these,
unrecognizable in some points.
yeah, like he has these like facial tics, the way he walks, like all that is just kind of is very interesting to kind of just look at him. And then, I think that's great. Leonardo DiCaprio, I think, is always. I mean, it's Leonardo DiCaprio. He's always pretty amazing in these things. So I could see him definitely getting Best Actor for this as well. And even maybe Chase Infinity. Maybe they, give her maybe a Best Supporting or maybe Best Actress nomination for this as well. So up and down the board, everybody's done a really great job in this. Tiana Taylor, who I wish we saw more of her in the movie. I was not expecting to see as little of her as we did in it. But in her bits in it, I think she's also very great in this as well. And there's a sequence in this movie that is probably one of my favorite sequences of the year. It's right up there with like the scene from Sinners in the club, where they're driving on a back road there. And they're playing with the camera there. That looks really fantastic, and that looks really
Mm.
amazing. I love that a lot. But yeah, there's just a lot of things like that in this movie that are just fascinating to kind of really watch. And this is a movie that this is why you come to the cinema to
Mhm.
see. This is what cinema's all about. And this has a budget on it too, a big budget of 130 million to possibly 175 million dollars. Is it going to recoup that money? Probably not.
Probably not.
Given this runtime and given that it's not about blue people attaching their hair to dragons and shit, is probably not going to make that money back.
Mm.
So far it's made 3.1 million dollars, but the fact that this was even made in the first place, and a guy like with Paul Thomas Anderson, his cachet can make something like this, I think is important for the things I mentioned. What do you think about that?
Um, I think this movie I think his technique is very strong in this movie. I think there are a lot of great uh, s- ways to use his camera. He captures you in those moments. This movie very much reminded me almost of there was a small 2002 film called The Weather Underground. It was a documentary, and it was about the rise and fall of there was a radical far left communist organization called Weather Underground. They did some attacks, and it was about that's an interesting little documentary, but it reminded me of it. I watched it when I was a very young man, and this reminded me a lot of it. Uh, and kind of almost this looking at kind of almost like in a what if scenario. What if the Underground continued? What if this was Antifa or some kind of organization? And what if they were super well organized? What if this elements of a people were leading or organized in this way and were being in this way? How would that be handled? How would this be this? And while that's a lot of there's a lot of climate in that, there's a lot of action in that. The first third of this movie is far more of that Weather Underground aspect that builds the first third. And I gotta be honest, it's the least interesting part to me because where I feel the movie truly gets moving and actually gets its heart and whether or not you're gonna stomach it is the father daughter element.
Mm.
That's really whether or not you're gonna stomach this movie, and it's really whether or not you're going to like it. If they don't click for you, if his struggle and her because this movie, there's no growth for any characters in this movie. I'd be perfectly honest.
You don't
Characters
think so
start as
with
they are, they
Leonardo
end as they
DiCaprio?
are. The only one who changes is the daughter.
Mm. I think Leonardo DiCaprio changes a bit. I
So
think.
he's somewhat. Those 2 are the only ones who change. I'll correct myself on that. Those 2 are the only ones. Everyone else remains the same. And it's their
Mm,
bond, their his protective instinct, he's trying to step up and be a better person for her. That's the interesting part. That's what I think holds the movie together. And I would have liked to have seen more before the events kind of happen, but eventually when it comes to a head, I think that's ultimately whether this movie is going to succeed for you or not.
mm. So you're saying if when it gets into
Mhm.
the father-daughter relationship, that's kind of the crux of it, and if people don't like
Yeah.
that, then they're probably not gonna like the
Oh,
movie.
yeah, they're gonna hate this movie otherwise,
Mm, okay. Yeah.
and it doesn't matter all the great techniques that he throws into this movie, it doesn't matter. I completely understand if someone was like, "Yeah, I just do not like this. I
Mm,
liked Licorice Pizza, I liked I'm sorry, There Will Be Blood. I liked, Punch Drunk Love. I liked his previous works. I don't like this one." And then I
mm.
understand why other people might go, "I really enjoyed this one." This
Could you see
movie is very much this was either made for you or it wasn't.
mm. And I know a lot of people say his worst one is Inherent Vice is maybe his worst one there.
Yeah, Inherent Vice is a mess. An interesting mess, but a mess.
Yeah. I think that's the only one I haven't seen of his movies is
That
and
one's a trip because it has,
that one.
Joaquin Phoenix, and he was completely in character when he did an interview, and that's when he was making Inherent Vice.
Oh, okay. And that one in Magnolia, I had not seen Magnolia.
Magnolia is interesting. I'd recommend that one. It's one of his earlier works.
Yeah. And then he also did Phantom Thread. I forgot to mention that. I
I
didn't
have
see
never
that.
seen Phantom Thread.
Yeah. Um, yeah. I mean, like I said, it does do a great job at the human
Mhm.
element as well in this movie of these people, these complex kind of. Well, I mean, some of these
Well,
characters. I mean, like it's clear who the good guy and bad guy is. Like like where
yeah,
Eddington is like with that movie, it kind of plays around like, well, maybe both sides are just equally as bad, and maybe both sides need to figure something out and everything.
mhm.
Like this one, it's like
Yeah,
even
it's
though
pretty cut and
once
dry.
this one is more the French 75 is the organization that he was a part of there in his earlier days. We
Mhm.
see the revolutionary group.
Yeah,
It's clear who the good guy is and who the bad guy is.
right,
Like even when they do something that's kind of even bad in a sense, it's still like no, these are still straight up evil people that
right.
they're going up against.
I think that's also its biggest sin is how straightforward it is. There is no room for nuance. There is no room. So that's why when I first started explaining this movie, I have to look at it in 3 different ways. I can interpret it 3 different ways. If it's a literal sense, this movie is a progressive wet dream because it's all simple. There are bad guys, law resistance, we are the good guys, everyone else is bad, and we have to deal with it. But then you also go, well, yeah, all the characters we see here are all assholes. They're all not good people. No, I mean the main character, Leo's character is a bomber. He makes bombs. He blows things up. The
Yeah.
Willa's mother, she's just this warrior who just basically doesn't is just a revolutionary. I'm a fighter and I'm going to fight and nothing else matters.
Mm,
And but when her principles are really pushed to shove, she reveals who she really is,
mm,
and that she's not as strong as who she thinks she is. She almost feels like, and again, if I look at it literally, she's just you kind of wonder. But if you look at it from if I'm interpreting it as a metaphor and this whole thing is a farce, that's almost like he's looking at it as she's a exploitation. She's almost like making fun of the black exploitation girl boss badass black women of the black exploitation era, and she's kind of making fun of almost like making fun of that representing that when push really comes to shove, you're a lot of talk,
mm,
but when you really come down to it, you're no better than anybody else. You're just as unscrupulous, and the only one who's actually going to change and do something positive is the character that everyone looks down on the most,
mm,
who actually nuts up eventually.
yeah. And this is based on a book. They're
Yeah, the
Vineland.
book, I think it's is it Vinewood?
Vineland.
Vineland, yeah, Vineland by Thomas
Uh,
Pynchon. Yeah, that
Pynchon.
one
Yeah.
was set in the he made that in the '90s, and that was about Reagan era California during the reelection, and that's a looking back on the 1960s revolution and kind of looking back on that time period and almost like fondly looking back at during the revolution days.
Yeah. I've not read the book myself there, but that's what the
Mhm.
story, the basis of the story comes
Which,
from
by the
there.
way, was polarized when it came out at that time.
Hmm.
Like
Okay.
its release, it was very polarized.
Interesting. Okay. I'm interested to check it out now. I mean, after seeing this movie.
It's
Um,
completely different, but I can definitely see his inspiration for it because it has a a similar esque vibe in the
hmm,
way it's portraying its in the book, Vineland, the main character was a former hippie in the '60s who became revolutionary over time, and he collects disability checks now.
hmm.
When he's
Okay.
like, that's how you meet his character, and so he's not in the best place, and he kind of reminisces on the past. It's very much a political centered kind of movie. It very much looks at it from one political shift in view.
Hmm.
But there are some nuances. I won't say there aren't, but it was even when the time it came out was kind of polarized. Some people liked it, some people didn't.
Mm, yeah. But it seems like you kind of got a little bit of that also with this movie. I
Mhm.
mean, definitely inspired by. I mean, I think
Oh
heavily on
yeah.
the inspired,
Yeah, very much
based on
inspired.
based on your comments there about the book. But yeah, I mean, I loved this a lot, even with its runtime there. I loved watching
Mhm.
it. Loved seeing where it was going to go. I think that this is going to be a heavy, probably an awards favorite coming into
Oh, sure.
an Oscars years. There,
Gonna
people. I
lap
mean,
it up.
yeah, the Academy loves Paul Thomas Anderson, so they love him. They love his work there.
They
I
they
forgot to
already
mention
have
also.
they already have the pillows. They already have and the knee pads ready.
I mean, I don't know what this how long they stood on their feet for this movie at Cannes or anything like that. I don't know.
Mhm.
Maybe this was a 50-minute standing ovation.
Ooh, maybe.
Uh,
Maybe it broke records of how much, people had to go to the hospital for how hard, they clapped their hands.
yeah,
They
they were
broke their
bleeding.
fingers.
Yeah, at how much they did there. I forgot to mention also Benicio del Toro also is really good in this. He's only in this
Mhm.
movie for a little bit there, but what his character
As
kind of
sensei. Yeah.
represents for Leonardo DiCaprio's character, I think is very good because you see that at this, like I said, it's all these almost 2 decades later. There, he's been kind of away from the revolution, away from
Yeah, he's
fighting.
just
There,
smoking pot.
he's just smoking pot. He's drinking a lot. He even says, like, "Listen, man, my brain is fried, man. I've smoked all this pot. I've drank so much, like, bro, my brain's
I don't
fucking
remember anything.
like, I don't remember shit, man. I'm sorry. Like, what the fuck, man? Like, just tell me." But yeah, so he what he kind of represents of like the fight is still there. The fight is continuing there in different ways there. It's not, gone, it's not forgotten. It's just morphed in kind of these different things in these different ways there. So I kind of did like what Benicio del Toro's character represented there with that. But yeah, I don't think it I mean I was gonna say, like, do you have to agree with the politics to like this movie? I don't really think so.
I think
I
it's gonna
mean,
be tough, though.
mm,
I think honestly, let's be honest. I think it's gonna be very tough. This movie is there's gonna be elements that once you get past that initial third, you can kinda go, "Okay, there's some bad guys, this." But it's that beginning revolution, it's that underlying element of it. I could easily see somebody going, especially to a certain point, that this feels like propaganda. I could easily see someone interpret it, and they wouldn't be completely wrong. Again,
mm,
I said this is a hard movie for me to kinda look at because I'm looking at it in 3 different ways, and depending on how I interpret it, depending on how he wants it to be interpreted, you're gonna get 3 different reactions. It's one of
mm,
those situations. So I can easily see it, and I wouldn't misjudge them for doing it. I wouldn't go, "I can't blame you for seeing that."
mm,
I can't blame you at all. This is probably gonna be one of his most contentious works,
mm,
aside from Inherent Vice. It's getting a lot of praise right now from early critics and early audience members, but we'll see how that sets in a week from now, 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
mm,
I guarantee probably audience score I'm not even gonna guarantee. I I would be very surprised if it's above 60, 70% on audience score. If it's above 60 or 70% on audience score, or if it 500 verified, we'll see. Again, we'll see as more people see it. But critics, I know it's not going to dip more than 95%.
no,
But
mm.
I think audience-wise, time is going to prove it as they get thousands of verified ratings. It's gonna hit somewhere into the 70s range,
Mm,
maybe
okay.
60, depending.
Yeah. Well, what will be your final thoughts rating
Uh,
for what are you gonna give? Are you gonna add to the high score there already? You're
on
gonna lower it?
uh, on a technical level, it's Paul Thomas Anderson. He does a great job. Performance-wise, they do good. I think I stay for the performances more than anything else. The story really I didn't really vibe with this movie until about I wanna say until after the first third, and it's about, Leonardo DiCaprio and his daughter. Then I was like, "Okay, I get it, I'm in." And then seeing his journey, seeing the elements of it, I just wish there was more time with them together, more elements of it. I felt the daughter was like they spent a little too much because of the things that happen, and I don't know, man. I liked elements of it, but there are also elements where I was like, "All right, that's a little on the nose. I'm not quite sure how you want me to interpret this." Uh, and because of that, it ended up making me kind of mixed. So, with that being said, I think I'm gonna come down on us on a very. I'm actually gonna go on this with a high rental.
High rental.
A
Okay.
high rental. I think this is on a
High streaming.
technicality level, it's very good, but I just can't see this. I just can't see you going to theater to really see this, especially with all as like all the elements together. I think you'd be perfectly fine waiting for it to stream it or rent it.
Mm. Wow. Okay.
It's one of the very few times I'll say technically it's very good, but because of the material, the writing, everything else along with it, the time that it's been the time, the tone, everything that's being put around in, I just yeah, man, I just can't. I gotta put it as a high rental.
Mm. Okay. Yeah. Well, I follow more on the opposite end there. It's just like this movie.
Mhm.
You're lockjaw, man. I'm Leonardo DiCaprio.
Sure, sure, why not? Uh, I don't know what you're implying, by the way.
No, I'm just talking about just two
I know.
extremes there.
I got you.
Uh, but yeah, this movie, a lot of people. I mean, I hope people just see it. I mean, and maybe don't
Yeah.
listen too much to the hype of it because I know that can kill a movie for some
I
people.
hope you
Just
just
going,
take it as is and just try to appreciate it as it is.
yeah, I know people probably out here. This is the greatest movie ever. This is the greatest movie of the 21st century. This is the
Yeah.
best movie of the year. And then you see it and go like, well, it's all right.
Yeah.
You know, I know that can kind of kill a movie for some people there, but yeah, I mean, I greatly enjoyed it. I greatly loved it. For me, I thought it did live up to the hype for the most part there. I love what Paul Thomas Anderson here did with just the technique of it, especially like I said, certain sequences in the movie are really amazing to
Oh,
see.
yeah.
And he also wrote and directed this. The writing in this, I think, is really good as well. These characters, the performance of these characters, I think, are also really amazing there from everybody involved there. I don't think there was any real weak link in the chain there. I think they all played the part extremely well. And just like I said, the development of the story, where it was going to go, the losses that some of these people take are major losses there. And just seeing how all those things kind of come together, it's just interesting to watch. And I think it is just this is like I said, this is what cinema is all about. And this is what you come to theater for. Um, and I absolutely kind of loved it. And it'd be fun, if people's not a psycho about it, to just discuss the meanings of the thing in the film and kind of what's going on, and maybe try to get inside the director's head of what some of the things meant in this movie there. I think it'll be fun to have that. And it's, there's moments where the humor works also really well, that's effective. There's moments where there's great action sequences here. There's moments where there's great dramatic sequences. Yeah, I think that's all very good. So I would give this I give it a strong peak bordering on this is cinema there
Mm,
for me.
dang.
So I quite loved it there, quite enjoyed it. Yeah. So you give it a high stream it.
Mhm.
I give it a high peak there
Mm.
for one battle after another. There's gonna be a sequel, two battles after another, and then it's gonna be another one, three battles after another. So there's that. So yeah, those were our thoughts there. In theaters now. I mean, I saw it in IMAX. It is a great experience to see it in IMAX. So I was able to see it there. Did you see it in IMAX or no?
No, I saw it in regular theater.
Okay, yeah. But if you can check it out in IMAX, I
Yeah.
think it's a great
Okay.
experience there. People can check it out.